I think people don't understand that. They may be new if you haven't experienced them. But none of this shit is new. You have different people who may deliver it differently. But all these concepts are old things way back in like fucking 2002 and whatnot. When the underground, okay? We're underground, where you had an exclusive chat forums with only like 5 people. Where it's like, hey, what happened with you? What was your new thing? That's... So, it's just an evolution of that. And a lot of it is evolved from dudes who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Unfortunately. 757, you're on the line. What's the disagreement and tell me why?
All right. My disagreement was about something you said yesterday regarding abortion. Are we there yet?
Sure. What about it?
You mentioned if a girl's in a bad place financially, or if she's, let me turn my speaker down so I don't get feedback. If a girl's going to bring a baby into a bad world, I think you said something about people want to give it up for adoption. And you're like, well, why would you want to do that? Because then it would be a war to the state. And
yeah, that seems very irresponsible.
Give it up to Jesus.
Yeah, I think that's the best option.
So my question is, are you a Christian?
Yes.
So if you want to send the baby to Jesus, then that means the baby has a soul. And so you're killing a baby with a soul. So how's that work out?
What do you mean, how does that work out? Are you speaking from a Christian standpoint? You want me to speak from a Christian standpoint? Because I wasn't speaking from a Christian standpoint, because that's not what, that's not what the law has been based off of.
But I'm not talking about the law. I'm talking about you and your opinion. You said, don't bring it into a bad world or send it up for adoption, because then it'll be a war to the state sending home to Jesus.
Well, I'm speaking this outside from a Christian perspective. That's why. Because it makes my argument a little more salient.
So, but you're saying it's better to abort than to bring the baby into a bad world and put it up for adoption.
Well, yeah, I think that's a little irresponsible, because what you're doing is that you're giving your responsibility onto me, onto the state, onto the taxpayer. I think that's the most irresponsible thing to do. And I think from a Republican conservative perspective, very much for accountability and responsibility. And that seems to be a bit, contradictory.
Don't you think that a matter of life and death is like kind of trumps like taxpayer dollars, though?
No,
like,
I don't, because people talk about life
on a baby.
I think quality of life trumps life.
You would rather not? I would rather be born in the Congo in like 1800 and have to deal with that than not be born at all.
Okay, well,
I think any life is better than not being alive.
Sure, I think that would be a moral argument. I think morally, I would absolutely disagree with you. Legally, I would also disagree with you. I think as far as the stance as far as abortion, I don't think any woman should be forced into motherhood.
But they're not really forced into motherhood if they get pregnant. I mean, nobody forced them into motherhood.
You're absolutely correct, right? But the whole point of abortion is that you weren't trying to get pregnant. I'm unaware of women who are trying to get pregnant who then have abortions.
Well, yeah, that's bad. But I mean, what about women who just don't care and they don't think about it?
So the concept is that they weren't trying to get pregnant.
Right, and they just don't care. They're not thinking about it. They're young. They're partying, and they just get knocked up. And now they decide, I'm going to use the I'm for.
The most relevant data that I've come across is that many of them were on contraceptives.
Well, that's a different take. If you were on contraceptives and you get but still, I think life trumps everything. Well, whether or not you wanted to get pregnant or not, that's my opinion. That's my disagreement with you.
Sure. Well, what about the life of the mother, though?
What you said about manosphere.
Sure. But what about the life of the mother, though? I think we're all missing the life of the mother.
I think the life of the mother is in danger, like a very, very, very minuscule.
No. What happened if the woman doesn't want to have the pregnancy? I think as far as
you don't want the baby, I mean, that's going to make your life bad? Is that what you're saying? Like it's going to make her life
no,
like
because it seems like you're dismissing the woman, right? Who's going to be carrying this to 9 months, and you're superseding her life by valuing, the unborn child, which in some cases starts off, as an embryo, a zygote, and then proceeds.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would
But
always,
is-
I would
okay,
always
so-
favor the woman who's alive, right? The born person as opposed to the unborn person. Always, 9 out of 10.
But
Actually,
what would
10 out of 10.
okay, so but let's say she didn't have the abortion and the baby's born. Is it going to make her life worse? You're saying?
Well, if she doesn't have the abortion, the baby's born. That's her choice. She chose to go through with the pregnancy.
Say she was forced not to have the abortion. Let's just say that, and the baby's
She
born,
was
and now it makes
forced
her like
not to have the
bad
abortion. I don't
financially or
agree with.
whatever.
Listen, as someone who's very much conservative to moderately, I don't agree with as far as the government forcing you to do anything. In much respect, I'm very much for limited government. So I'm not for forcing anyone.
So in the end, what's your view on reversing Roe v. Wade? Not making abortion illegal, but saying, hey, let's throw it back to the
I don't
state.
think, as far as
So
the
you think
state
that-
should be able to dictate what another person does with their body.
So in the end, you get pro-choice.
Yes, very much for. I think there
But
should be
you're
more
Christian.
abortions.
I don't think those two jive.
I think there should be more abortions because there are a lot of stupid people on this planet who shouldn't have been born. So the whole
You
concept
do
that,
understand that, like, the vast majority of abortions, and I'm not blaming black people, but
Uh-huh.
are black.
the vast majority of abortions are white, actually. White women, white Christian poor women make up the vast majority of abortions.
Not by the statistics I've seen, man.
I don't care what
And
statistics
I can't
you see,
quote you
right?
anything right now. I don't have anything off the top of my head. But
Black
vast
women are
majority-
overrepresented, but as far as white women, it's the same thing. It's the same, wordplay that many people try to do with crime. Majority of criminals are white. The majority of abortions are white.
I'm going to send you something. Do you have an email I can send to?
Sure.
I can send you stats.
TheAmazingLucas@gmail.com. There is not going to be any
The
data
Amazing
that
Lucas
would
at Gmail.
that would refute what I'm saying. Now, per capita,
All right,
you can
and-
say as far as black women are overrepresented, absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about. Per capita. No.
Oh, wait, well,
even
I'm
per
not talking
capita.
about per
The
capita.
numbers
That's
of
usually-
abortions.
That's usually a
just saw the
tactic
statistic
used in
today.
order to belittle and try to demean black people, right? The majority of abortions are from white poor women who are actually of Christian faith. Protestants, Catholics.
If that's true, that's sad because then they're not really Christian. Because
Okay,
they wouldn't
well,
be
then
doing that if they were
that's-
really Christian.
That's a different talk. But the majority of them are of white poor women who are of Christian
Well,
faith,
that's
who are
something
women
I'm
of faith.
absolutely going to have to look into, and whether I'm right or wrong, I'm going to get back to you on that. TheAmazingLucas@gmail. I do want to say, I know it's disagreement night, but I do agree with everything you said on Manosphere. Never heard of it, but everything you said was spot on. It's creepy as F. It's weird. So that being said, thank you for having me on, and
No
I
problem.
gave you $7 tonight, so you
I
have a great
appreciate
night.
it. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate the support. You take care and stay safe.
Bye.
All right. Now, when it comes to the jab, the whole concept, because a lot of people are conflating the jab with abortion, which is why I didn't agree with conservatives talking about my